One person said, "Hey Elon, your Doge minions just fired my colleagues and I. We were working on improving maternal health outcomes at lower costs so that less pregnant women would die in our country." All right, I'm not joking when I say that with every day that passes, we are seeing more and more consequences of Elon Musk's rapid gutting of our public institutions, Elon Musk cutting programs that directly benefit the American people and leaving chaos in his wake. We learned today that not only is Elon Musk screwing over pregnant mothers, but he's also screwing over veterans. And on top of that, the other day, Trump officials fired nuclear staff, not realizing that they oversee the country's weapons stockpile, sources say. And to make this story even worse, they are now asking these fired federal workers to come back. They are begging the fired federal workers, but the Trump administration wants to unfire nuclear safety workers, but can't figure out how to reach them. They can't figure out how to reach some of the most uniquely qualified people in our country to take care of our nuclear capacities. People who have kept our country running and safe for years, for decades when it comes to nuclear stuff. They got fired on a whim, and now the Trump admin wants them to come back. And there are multiple cases of stuff like this happening. The Trump administration firing a team or an entire agency, and then after they break something, after something goes terribly wrong, they try to get this team or agency to come back, and usually it works out. Usually the team does come back. But I mean, inevitably, you're really going to piss off some employees, and they're not going to have the goodwill in them to come and work for you again and help you fix whatever mistake you made if they know they're going to get fired. So it's not thought out. It is very, very poorly executed, and it's coming at the cost of the American people. Again, let's just read this article really quickly. Make sure you drop a like. Make sure you subscribe on this video. The individuals who work in an agency that oversee the nation's nuclear stockpile had been fired on Thursday and lost access to their federal government email accounts. The National Nuclear Security Administration officials on Friday attempted to notify some employees who had been let go the day before that they are now due to be reinstated. But they struggled to find them because they didn't have their new contact information. In an email sent to employees at NNSA and obtained by NBC News, officials wrote, quote, "The termination letters for some NNSA probationary employees are being rescinded, but we do not have a good way to get in touch with those personnel." Just think about how much of an absolute shit show this is. You ruin people's lives. You fire them from their position working in the federal government, and then the next day, you rescind that memo that fires them. You say they need to be reinstated, all because the nuclear capacities aren't properly being secured. I mean, we tried to tell Republicans and Elon and Trump fans 100 times that you can't just go through and break things, but we didn't think the consequences would be this immediate. The consequences were so immediate that 24 hours after firing these people, they needed them back. But again, we've already seen multiple instances of Trump or Doge or Musk slashing an agency entirely only to turn around and ask the same workers that he fired to come back and fix the damage. And that's not a sign of a competent leader making tough calls or going through and fixing things and streamlining things. That is a man-child breaking things in his way, then demanding that someone else clean up the mess. It's a strategy of pure chaos. Let's move on to some of these other stories that I found interesting. Really quickly, Scott McFarlane tweeted out the other day, "The U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs confirms it dismissed more than 1,000 employees, a once unthinkable concept for an agency that operates 100 plus major hospitals, many more hundred of clinics, and processes veteran benefits." And really quickly, Senator Blumenthal said, quote, "Massive layoffs of VA employees, including nurses, doctors, and positions already facing critical shortages nationwide, is nothing more than an attempt to balance the budget on the back of veterans. It is reprehensible to target recently hired federal employees, particularly those who have chosen to serve veterans." MAGA doesn't actually care. MAGA doesn't care about the veterans or the people they are hurting. They care about, breaking things at the cost of the American people. And there are theories that I believe in, that Elon Musk is only using Doge, number one, to gain power, number two, to make himself richer, but three, to distract away from the fact that Republicans just introduced a $4.5 trillion bill, a $4.5 trillion tax cut bill, which will far outweigh the $20 million of cuts that Elon Musk has made. But here's where it gets scary. Here's the main story that I want to talk about today. Ariel Kane, who was an analyst at the Centers for Medicaid and Medicare, tweeted something out that was quite scary. She said, "Hey, at Elon Musk, your Doge minions just fired me and my colleagues at CMMI, which is a Center for Medicaid and Medicare. We were working on improving maternal health outcomes at lower costs so that less pregnant women would die in this country. I thought that would fit nicely into your agenda," says Ariel, saying, "Hey, if you're trying to lower costs for taxpayers and save lives, you're doing the opposite of that." Again, let me read this sentence one more time. It's important. "We were working on improving maternal health outcomes at lower costs so that less pregnant women would die in this country." She then says, "The administration told media yesterday that the HHS cuts were, quote, targeted, and it didn't include scientists or people working on Medicare and Medicaid. Well, I know of scientists who got fired, and I work on Medicaid. Just wanted to point out when you get things wrong, like you requested," Elon Musk said in the Oval Office the other day, "when I get things wrong, please just let me know." And it's quite concerning that they are slashing some of the most important agencies or departments. And like what I was saying earlier, if they invited Ariel Kane to work back and realized they made a massive mistake, if somehow Elon Musk tweeted out today, "We made a massive mistake, we want Ariel and these scientists to come back," would they even be likely to come back after their lives were just upended? You are getting rid of some of our top talent. People working on lowering the maternal mortality rate for Americans to make sure that mothers and their children are more safe, and Elon Musk guts this department. And I guarantee it was to save like $14 million, which I know sounds like a lot on a day-to-day basis, but $14 million in the grand scheme of things is a drop in the bucket. It is a grain of sand on the beach because the government spends so much more on military contracts, on Tesla and SpaceX contracts. Someone said, "Hey, Elon Musk, this analyst at the Centers for Medicaid and Medicare was just fired by your, quote, Doge brigade, despite her work being to improve health outcomes at lower costs so that fewer pregnant women would die across this country. Are you ready to admit you are full of shit?" Because after we've looked at this pattern, whether it's the Department of Veteran Affairs, whether it's the CMMI, or whether it's the nuclear programs that we talked about earlier, there is a very clear pattern of Elon Musk firing people willy-nilly, not being able to admit that he made a mistake, and making us less safe, whether it's mothers being less safe, whether it's veterans being less safe, or every American who lives near a nuclear facility or would be affected by a nuclear effing war. So here's the takeaway. Elon Musk needs to stop firing highly specialized workers with very unique qualifications, people who are critical to our national security, scientists who are studying how to lower the death rate of mothers. You can't just treat the government like a tech startup where you come in and you fire 70% of the federal workforce. There are many highly specialized workers that can't just be replaced. And that's my TED Talk. I'll leave it at that. Make sure you drop a like, subscribe, have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.